CM Punk for the undisputed WWE Championship.
It's time CM Punk woke up as champion.
WWE Night of Champions.
Get out your cameras. You're gonna want to remember this moment.
Today, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
The greatest of all time against the best in the world.
One last time. John Cena, CM Punk for the undisputed WWE Championship.
It's time CM Punk woke up as champion.
WWE Night of Champions.
Get out your cameras. You're gonna want to remember this moment.
Today, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
The greatest of all time against the best in the world.
One last time. John Cena, CM Punk for the undisputed WWE Championship.
It's time CM Punk woke up as champion.
WWE Night of Champions.
Then, now, forever. Together.
And this is the capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, home to more than 7 million people. The largest city in the kingdom. Riyadh is a bustling metropolis, abundant shops, restaurants, and nightlife. We are at the state-of-the-art Kingdom Arena, home to many international soccer matches, heavyweight championship boxing bouts, and tonight, to WWE's Night of Champions. The final night of the King of the Ring tournament, the winner goes on to SummerSlam for a title match versus the champion of his respective brand. The WWE's Apex Predator, Randy Orton, runner-up last year in controversial manner, hopes to right that wrong against his former protege tonight, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, who is dying for another opportunity at the undisputed WWE Championship. Orton Rhodes battle for their legacy tonight. On the women's side of things, a highly competitive tournament wraps up tonight with a match too close to call. A storm is coming to Saudi Arabia. Jade Cargill is here, hell-bent on leaving the desert as Queen of the Ring. But an empress stands in her way. One of the all-time great superstars, the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka, looks to add the term Queen to her already Hall of Fame caliber resume. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Night of Champions Countdown Show.
The journey is long. The path is hard. But the destination, distant, eternal, gleaming, is somehow clear. Getting here is framed by a question and shaped by a fight. But maybe the fight isn't the hardest part. Maybe it's what you carry that's even heavier. Not just the strength and will or the grit and belief, it's the other things. The pressure of expectation, the weight of opportunity, the burden of doubt, and the simple, central, unyielding question: are you enough?
Well, the Second City Saint, CM Punk. has never won a match at Night of Champions. Tonight he hopes to change his fortune and beat John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship and his 6th World Championship. Welcome to the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and welcome to the Night of Champions Countdown Show. Hello again, everybody. I'm Michael Cole. So glad to be with you here this afternoon in the States, evening here in Riyadh, joined by an esteemed panel, including someone who decided that she no longer wants to hang out with the A-listers like Wayne Gretzky. She decided to hang out with the bums here in Riyadh, like me and Barrett. Jackie Redmond is here.
Oh my gosh, how did I know there would be an insult about 60 seconds into the show? I would rather be nowhere else, Michael Cole. You are an absolute legend. I feel privileged to be here, and I did set the over-under on your first chirp at about 2.5 minutes, so I think the under one. I'll pay whoever I owe money after the show, all right?
And also joining us, he is a former king of the ring, a 5-time Intercontinental Champion, and folks, I had to wait today 10 minutes to leave the hotel because Wade Barrett was late. When I asked Wade why he was late, he said the reason is when he walks through hotels in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, it's like Beatlemania has come back to life. Welcome, Wade.
Thank you very much. You got a little taste of Barrett Mania right here. My fans are going to pack out this arena today. Wow, it's going to be a wild, wild time in the desert. Cannot wait.
Well, it's something that I've been told I have to do. Not quite sure why, since we're inside an arena that's 75 degrees. But we're going to give the temperature now out in the desert, outside in Riyadh. It is 109 degrees in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. No idea how you people live in this heat, but thank you for being here at Night of Champions. It is going to be an unbelievable night tonight. Of course, the main event, Punk and Cena, probably the last time ever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you talk about the temperature. I don't know what's hotter, the temperature here or the card that we have tonight, because the main event is one thing, but I'm excited for every single match. I feel like with Punk and Cena, though, I have to start with this. I mean, who did who better? I feel like I need to poll the panel here. Did John Cena do CM Punk better than CM Punk did John Cena? Where do your votes lie?
To me, it's pretty much a tiebreak at the moment. The only thing I'm happy about, as great as the talking was, and those are two of the greatest talkers of all time, of course, I'm just glad the time for talking is over, because tonight it is all about fighting, and it's all about the WWE Championship.
We're going to break down that match in just a moment, but also King and Queen of the Rings will be crowned tonight. Wade, former King of the Ring, of course, but what an opportunity for the winners here tonight.
Yeah, it's massive, and as much as I enjoyed the fact that I was a King of the Ring, to me, these days, the tournament is upgraded even since back in my day. That prize of a championship opportunity against your brand's champion at SummerSlam, it puts the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, to me, on a par with winning the Royal Rumble now. That's how great the prize on offer is. So it's massive and huge consequences per how tonight goes.
We have reporters all over the Kingdom Arena. Going to be hearing from them over the next couple of hours, including our Arabic correspondent, Natalie Mamo.
Thank you, Cole. I'm Natalie Mamo, and we're coming to you live from the iconic Kingdom Arena here in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Tonight, WWE returns for Night of Champions, the 13th premium live event happening on Saudi soil, and the stakes have never been higher. The excitement is off the charts across the Arab world as the crown awaits in the King and Queen of the Ring finals. Also, home favorite Sami Zayn returns to Saudi Arabia, this time for a head-to-head clash with Karrion Kross, and for the first time ever, we're about to witness the first street fight in the women's division between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. And of course, all eyes head to the main event. We've seen it in SmackDown yesterday, how CM Punk managed to win the hearts and the support of the Arab crowd just a day before two icons battle for the undisputed WWE Championship for what is CM Punk's first match in Saudi Arabia and what could be John Cena's last. Legacies, titles, and so much pride, they're all on the line tonight here in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Now let's go back to the lockers room to hear from Byron.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Obviously, a lot of buzz with the fans, but that buzz is matched by the superstars themselves. Think about it. The King and Queen of the Ring tournament started with 32 superstars. Today, we're down to 4. Jade Cargill, Asuka, Randy Orton and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of track how these superstars are preparing themselves, sort of the calm before the storm of the tournament tonight. Speaking of the storm, I did notice Jade Cargill having a nice FaceTime call with her daughter, sharing a few laughs, having some warm moments, while Asuka, on the other hand, was actually running the steps of the arena, testing out that surgically repaired knee and making sure it's gonna be good to go tonight. On the men's side, and this is really interesting, Randy Orton. Now, in the last few months, Randy Orton has really embraced the role of locker room leader, interacting with superstars, mentoring those superstars, but today, Randy Orton is nowhere to be found. And in fact, it feels like Orton has just barricaded himself in his locker room, which makes you wonder what kind of thoughts could be percolating through the mind of the Viper. His opponent, Cody Rhodes, the complete opposite. He got his morning cardio session done, he was jovial, lighthearted, and super excited about tonight. Ultimately, it comes down to this: 2 superstars, 2 crowns, and 2 world title opportunities at SummerSlam. That's it from the backstage perspective of the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. Back to you guys on the panel.
That's right, Byron. Tonight, the finals in the Queen of the Ring tournament. Who will be crowned queen and get an opportunity at a title match at SummerSlam? Will it be the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka, or the Storm, Jade Cargill? Again, on the men's side of things, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Randy, of course, a mentor of Cody Rhodes early on in their career. They battle it out to become King of the Ring. Sami Zayn putting his pursuit of a world championship on the back burner momentarily to take on the man who's been a devil on his shoulder, Karrion Kross, one-on-one tonight. And the first time ever in Saudi Arabia, a street fight for this long-running rivalry. The Eradicator, Rhea Ripley, takes on Raquel Rodriguez of the Judgment Day. The United States Championship up for grabs. Jacob Fatu defends his title against the man he was once an enforcer for, none other than Solo Sikoa. And our main event tonight for the final time, one of the greatest rivalries in WWE history. CM Punk versus John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. And this is a very interesting matchup tonight, guys, between John Cena and CM Punk. This is sort of the rubber match, so to speak. In their career, in one-on-one matches, they each have 6 wins, and they have 1 draw. Who does that favor tonight, do you think, Wade?
I don't know if it favors either man. I think both men are right up there with the best, not only of their generation, but also of all time. Both men have a tendency to get better when the spotlight is at the brightest and the pressure's at the greatest, which really is tonight. I don't think the rubber match is going to come into it for either of these 2 guys. They could have never competed before in their lives. Both want to win this match. Both want to leave with the gold.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys know I love my stats, right? I got my need-to-know stat for you, and I think it plays into your very question, Michael Cole, because while they are 6-6, and John Cena is undeniably the best ever because he's got more world championships than anyone in history, there is one stat that does not favor John Cena going into this match. John Cena has never defeated CM Punk one-on-one to win a singles championship. So while in the ring, John Cena has the most world titles, CM Punk might have John Cena's number.
And also in this rivalry, CM Punk perhaps has the biggest victory of his career. That was 2011 when he knocked off John Cena for a world championship. This is such a juxtaposition here when you're talking about these 2 men. I mean, compare 2025 to 2011. Cena and CM Punk in completely different places in their career.
Yeah, completely different roles too. If you remember back in 2011, it was CM Punk who was trying to abscond with the WWE Championship against the company man John Cena. Now, John Cena's stated goal is to abscond from the world of WWE this December after his retirement is over with the WWE Championship. And who's here to save the industry, to save WWE? It's now company man CM Punk. It's crazy how the roles have flipped over this course of 14 years.
I gotta get this out. John Cena's a hypocrite. Yeah. Everyone talks about the John Cena pipe bomb, right? And how he did CM Punk better than CM Punk. I love this crowd, by the way. They are so
Oh, it's
amped
going to be
for
like
this
this all
show.
night, so get used to it.
And I understand why, but John Cena's a hypocrite. He had the audacity to get up on that top turnbuckle and say to CM Punk, you've become everything that you said you would never be. You've become everything you said you hated. No, John Cena, I believe that's you. I think you're talking about yourself. You've become everything that you said you wouldn't be. You've become everything that you said you hated. So I just found that whole thing to be super hypocritical.
Well, Jackie, and I agree with you. And Wade, you were here, as was I, back when John Cena was battling The Rock. And John Cena had a lot of the same things to say about The Rock. You left WWE. You're on a part-time schedule. You're a movie star. Cena's doing the exact same things now. And what I'm upset about is the fact that John Cena, who has less than 6 months left in his retirement tour in WWE, is letting all of these fans down by not giving them what they want. One last chance to experience the John Cena, the hustle, loyalty, and respect, the you can't see me, all of that stuff. He's depriving the fans of that, and that sucks.
Can I just shock you? I'm going to defend John Cena here.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah,
what a
I can't
surprise.
believe these words are not going to taste good to me, especially. But John Cena has given a ton to these fans for 20-plus years, right? He's done everything ever asked of him. They booed him. I understand his perspective, and to Jackie's point, how one person called the other a hypocrite when he's being a hypocrite. I get that, but the truth is people change over time. I'm not the same guy I was in 2010 when I was attacking the company
Thank God.
holding the place to win, right? Michael Cole's a different guy. We're all different people. You're a different person to the one you were 3 weeks ago at the
100%.
NHL, right? You're now back here hanging out with those losers.
Yeah, I've evolved. I've evolved.
The truth is, people change over the time. I'm not going to hold it against CM Punk for being a different man now than he was in 2010. I'm not going to hold it against John Cena for being a different person now than he was in 2010.
But can we agree that one's changed for the better and the other's changed for the worse?
Depending on your perspective, certainly these fans would agree with you, but John Cena is the WWE champion today because he has changed. If it was the John Cena of old, not being cutthroat, I don't know if he's still good enough in ring to win the WWE championship.
Listen, I'm not sure that that one person has changed for the better or worse. If you listen to the WWE fans, and you listen to them tonight, they're still cheering John Cena. They still love this man. Now listen, this crowd out here has been unbelievable. This crowd out here is among the best in the world when it comes to WWE fans. So it's no wonder that WWE...
Don't encourage him.
Woo! I love it, Wade. Soak it in.
But
soak
these
it in.
great fans in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, who have been serenading us for 24 hours now, there's a reason that WWE has this growing relationship with this country of Saudi Arabia.
You are looking live at the capital city of Riyadh in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the hottest ticket in the world. Welcome to Riyadh.
I never lost it. I gotta keep faith. State of my goals now.
WWE clearly embodies the spirit of this majestic desert kingdom.
What an arrival for the Maverick.
Welcome, everyone, to WWE Crown Jewel.
You are looking live at a sold-out Mohammed Abdul Arena. It is a big fight night in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. History-making heights. A moment for the ages.
The Boulevard was a highlight of Riyadh season.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Riyadh, what do you want to talk about?
Tonight is nothing short of a celebration. Are you ready? I cannot wait. What we do next.
Get out your cameras. You're going to want to remember this moment.
Today, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia,
The greatest of all time against the best in the world.
One last time. John Cena, CM Punk, for the undisputed WWE Championship.
It's time CM Punk woke up as champion.
WWE Night of Champions.
This August, WWE brings the vibes to MetLife Stadium.
You know what time it is?
2 nights. Too many stars to count. SummerSlam on a whole nother level. WWE SummerSlam, August 2nd and 3rd. Individual and combo tickets on sale now.
It will be King Kurt or King Rikishi. Oh, the Samoan drop. One-handed. Rikishi with a one-arm Samoan drop. But he got most of that 400 pounds dropped into the ribs and the torso of Kurt Angle. Who will be the king of the ring? Oh! Neck breaker. Rikishi holding his knee. Oh, that's not going to get it done. Rikishi in so much pain, the only way that he could get a cover was using his back.
But I'm telling you, everything that Rikishi does is he's hurting himself as much as he does Kurt Angle. Except stink face.
Angle propped up in the corner.
This is the second time he's had the opportunity. Oh, Kurt! Oh, come on! You got your Kurt! Oh, please! This is the ultimate insult and degradation for an American Olympic hero. Look at this!
Kurt, did you see that? Olympic slam, my God! Angle with the Olympic slam! Will that be?
Yeah.
No! Rikishi kicked out!
What?
The big man reached down with whatever he had left and was able to kick out. And I don't think I've seen anybody that I can recall kick out of Angle's Olympic slam.
I don't think Kurt Angle's ever seen it either. He's in shock. I don't know what to do now.
Rikishi going on one arm. Oh, look out.
Oh, you should have done that, Kurt.
That's got to be all.
No. Oh, my gosh.
Man, Tim White telling us how close it was, but still, the bottom line is it was a 2 count.
Well, JR, that's some great Olympic spirit right there being shown by Kurt Angle. You got to admit it. Go ahead and admit it, JR.
Admit what?
That was great Olympic spirit shown by Kurt Angle.
Well, it was a gut check. It was intestinal fortitude.
He was in the jaws of defeat.
Rikishi, he talk about high risk. He's 400 pounds.
Whoa! And all 400 of those pounds just came down on the family jewels.
Kurt Angle shooting those forearms into that injured shoulder of Rikishi. My God, what's Angle think he's going to do here?
Oh, my gosh. This ain't going to happen.
Rikishi's 424 pounds.
Kurt, if he falls on you, it'll be history.
There's no way Angle can suplex.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Angle with a belly-to-belly suplex.
He got him.
On a 400-pound man right off the top turnbuckle.
Try to cover him.
Angle's got the leg hook.
He got him. Oh, my gosh.
He did it. Kurt Angle did it.
Look at the emotion. This is the greatest day of his life.
Kurt Angle won the Olympic gold medal 4 years ago, and with an unbelievable belly-to-belly suplex on a 400-pound man has become the 2000 King of the Ring.
It takes a king to know a king, and I know that Kurt Angle will be a great king of the ring.
And we're in the capital city of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is Riyadh. 1 hour, 37 minutes before Night of Champions. For a complete breakdown now of the Queen of the Ring bracket, Wade Barrett with some Barrettology.
The Queen's crown hangs in the balance.
At Night of Champions, a new queen will rule over WWE. Her eyes set on a marquee showdown at the biggest party of the summer.
The stakes could not be higher.
Barrettology is back and here to guide you through the raucous quest to the throne. In the first round, fatal four-way matchups took place throughout Raw and SmackDown, with the winners moving to the semi-finals. It all started as the prodigy, Roxanne Perez, would steal a pinfall to advance. Way to endear yourself, Roxanne. No one was a match for the oncoming storm as Jade Cargill roared her way into the semi-finals. While former five-time champion Alexa Bliss punched her ticket to the next round in buzzer-beater fashion.
Fire tapped out after the pinfall win.
Claiming the final spot in the semi-finals would be Asuka, as the Empress of Tomorrow stamped her return after a year-long absence with a dominant performance. With the final four set, semi-final action would kick off on SmackDown with Alexa Bliss and Asuka.
Highly skilled former champions. Empress Impact.
No one is ready for Asuka!
Over on Raw, the brash Roxanne Perez walked into the semi-finals with home court advantage. Let's just say, things did not go the Prodigy's way against Jade Cargill.
The winner of this matchup faces Asuka in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. Roxanne putting up a hell of a fight here tonight. Face first off of Jade, and she's gonna face Asuka at Night of Champions.
I'm walking in to reign.
And with that, we are down to the final two. The Storm and the Empress. Less than 2 years into her WWE career, the ascendant Jade Cargill now looks to grab her first major accolade as a singles competitor. What awaits Cargill is her most threatening opponent today, Asuka. The Japanese phenomenon is looking to re-solidify her standing as the most feared woman in WWE by adding a Queen of the Ring tournament victory to her already stacked resume. The woman who emerges from the battle victorious will have a one-way ticket to SummerSlam to challenge for the World Championship.
Now they go one-on-one in the Queen of the Ring tournament finals.
The WWE Universe's eyes are fixated on this generational clash. Asuka, Jade Cargill. Who will become the 2025 Queen of the Ring?
I'm currently standing by with Jade Cargill. Jade, I appreciate your time.
No problem.
I saw you earlier, FaceTiming your daughter, having a good moment there, but things are about to get real. And you have a real opportunity to completely change your career if you become Queen of the Ring. Where's your head at?
Whew. Byron, I'm focused. You know, I have a little girl at home that just can't wait for me to get home with my crown. Now, last night on SmackDown, Asuka made a grave mistake. She lit a fire that she can't put out. Now, I was already coming for my crown, but now I'm coming for a point to prove. And all she did was give me the motivation that I needed to take what was already mine, because the storm is coming.
Jade, good luck tonight.
No problem.
Michael, Wade, back to you guys on the panel.
What's Jackie? No Jackie?
I'm still a bit too new here, I guess.
No, not at all. Hey, there's a lot to break down in this Queen of the Ring finals. First, let's start
it is.
First, let's start with what's at stake, and that is an opportunity for a world championship in SummerSlam.
Yeah, this is a huge match. I mean, great job also, by the way.
Thank you very much.
In that you really told the story.
I
there,
do 1% of the work. The production team do 99%, but I get all the credit. It's fantastic. Best gig ever.
I didn't even know you could read. But nonetheless.
All right, keep the chirps coming, Cole. I love it. But you know, you said it in that package. This is the biggest test of Jade Cargill's career. She comes over to WWE as a very highly touted acquisition, and we know a lot about her. She looks the part. She literally looks like a superhero. And Asuka said last night on SmackDown, you're powerful. You have strength. I know that. So I think the question then becomes, what else does Jade have? Because Asuka is ready for the power. She's ready for the strength. And I think, you know, this is a chance for Jade to prove that she can actually hang inside the ring with the heavy hitters, right?
And Jade is in there with a woman who's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, everything Asuka's already accomplished in her career. But Asuka's got an issue. She's wearing a knee brace. She missed 13 months of action because of a knee injury. Will Jade be able to exploit that tonight?
I think so, and a lot has been made of the fact that Asuka was out for over 12 months with this injury. She came straight back in, won a fatal four-way with some top contenders, won a semi-final against another top contender. I would add to that the fact that it is hot here. I know you're saying we're indoors. I'm already sweating. My jacket's off. I don't care what you're saying the temperature is in here. It is humid, and that exhausts people, and somebody who hasn't had the kind of reps over the past 12 months that Jade Cargill has had may struggle in this humidity.
Another interesting point is this is the first time that these two have ever gone one-on-one, but they know each other very well from tag team action. Asuka got hurt back in May of 2024 at Backlash in Lyon, France, during a tag team championship match where the Kabuki Warriors lost to Jade and Bianca. Do you think, as a competitor, that getting injured in that match with Jade in the ring is going to be in the mind of Asuka tonight?
Yeah, I don't think it will. I think the nature of that injury was a bit of a freak incident. It wasn't a target attack by Jade Cargill and Bianca on the knee. They weren't trying to put her out for good or anything like that. I think as competitors, we realize, hey, sometimes things just go wrong and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just one of those things. I don't think the specter of that is going to hang over Asuka here.
So, Jackie, Jade Cargill's never had an opportunity at a singles championship in WWE. In your opinion, who is this match more important to, Jade or Asuka?
I think Jade. I think Jade for some of the reasons I mentioned before. And also you bringing up the tag team division, right? Like a lot of Jade Cargill's success so far in WWE has been with the help of one of the best women's superstars we've ever seen in the EST of WWE, Bianca Belair. I think this is a huge statement-making opportunity for Jade Cargill to say, hey, not only am I more than my looks and my strength and my voice, I can do this in the ring and I can do it by myself. Asuka's already proven that she can do that. I mean, the girl's won everything, right? So for me, it's all about Jade Cargill tonight for me.
I kind of agree. I think it is more important for Jade. Obviously, it's huge either way, and both women want to win it, but I think Asuka has been to the mountaintop several times already. Jade Cargill is still clambering to get up there, and this could be the night that really puts her to the very top.
The crowd loves Asuka, though. We've learned that.
And remember, last year's Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax, went on to SummerSlam and won a championship by beating Bayley. Also tonight, two of the most powerful women in WWE are in action. For the first time ever in Saudi Arabia, it is a street fight. Raquel Rodriguez rekindles a long-time rivalry with Rhea Bloody Ripley. Street fight here tonight.
When I first came to the Performance Center, I felt very alone. And Raquel, she was one that I sort of just gravitated to instantly. We sort of just felt like we only had each other. We had each other's backs when no one else did.
This is my friend. I love her very much. I love you very much.
We actually got matching R&R tattoos. That's how close we are. Well, we were. I guess things change. People change.
Raquel Rodriguez assaulting Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley thinks she runs Monday Night Raw. Rhea is the strongest and most dominant female in all of WWE, except for me.
Rhea Chiquita, the only reason you rose to the top
is because I was gone. I am not going to let Rhea run through our division.
The winner of the Queen of the Ring gets an opportunity at a championship at SummerSlam.
Wait a minute! Raquel Rodriguez, where did she come from?
Raquel, you really tried to paint yourself in a pretty little picture, like you didn't deserve the beatings that I've been giving you. See, the difference between you and I is when you betrayed me, it was with malice and ego, where everything I've done to you has been deserved.
Uh-oh! Rhea Ripley just cost Raquel Rodriguez. Turnabout is fair play.
Rhea, me jodiste y ahora lo vas a ver, pendeja. You're not gonna screw me out of Queen of the Ring and get away with it. I can drag you out here by that nose ring, or you can make it easy for yourself and get in here and take the beating you deserve, Mamona!
Be careful what you wish for, Raquel. Look at the fury in the eyes of Mommy. You want tables, Bernera? You want tables? Uh-oh, Roxanne Perez from behind.
I want Raquel!
How about Night of Champions?
Yeah, sounds good.
How about a street fight?
Even better.
Well, these two have a hell of a history. Former best friends, now mortal enemies.
And the smartest thing for you to do is walk away. But we all know you're not going to do that. So since you won't end this, I will.
Raquel's not the same person that I knew back then. And you're gonna have to kill me to stop me.
Well, Rhea, to say the tension was palpable between you and Raquel at yesterday's kickoff event might be a massive understatement. I know you guys have a ton of history, but for our viewers, like, what's at the root of this hatred that you guys so clearly have for each other?
I mean, look, you can go on YouTube and you can witness it for yourself. There is clear evidence as to how this all started, and it's all Raquel's fault. Like, I cannot take the blame here at all because we were best friends in NXT. I looked at her like she was a sister to me. I didn't have my family when I moved over here. I was very vulnerable, very shy, very timid, and she's the one that I latched onto and I loved like a sister. And then once I started skyrocketing and getting the success that I got, and I got to face Shayna Baszler for the title, the NXT Women's Championship, that's when she turned. And everything that we had together disappeared. All the matching tattoos, all the traveling together buddies, we got so many matching tattoos. So I always have a reminder on me somewhere of what she meant to me and what she has done to me.
And now it comes down to this, a street fight. She has experience in this situation. She was saying yesterday after this match, it's gonna be all about Raquel. This is your first ever street fight. What are you willing to do to get the win over Raquel and prove your point?
What am I willing to do? I mean, anything. Anything and absolutely everything. We went to war in NXT and we had a last woman standing match. We've had a no holds barred match. We're 1 for 1. She kicked me out of NXT and I kicked her out of the main roster pretty much. So this one, it's the lucky middle one, and we're gonna see who's going to triumph and be victorious, but I will stop at absolutely nothing to put her through the ground and keep her there because she's a thorn in my side since NXT, and I'm so sick and tired of her playing the victim. Like, it's always been all about me and I've been a golden child because I haven't. She knows the struggles and all the stuff that I've had to go through to get to where I am today. So whenever she says stuff like that, it pisses me off to a point that I want to smash her face in. So that's what you're going to see tonight.
All right, one last one for you. You know, ever since you dropped your championship, you've had some opportunities to get back in the title picture, Money in the Bank, Queen of the Ring. How important do you think this win is, aside from all the personal stuff, just to get back into the championship picture?
It's my baby. it's my baby, and I'm gonna stop at nothing to get my baby back. And I know that I've had triumphs, I've had down periods, I've gone through that roller coaster of emotions. I've got wins, I got losses, I've done things that I'm not so proud of to get to places that I've wanted to be. And that's what I'm gonna have to do again. I'm gonna have to go through people to get what I want, because at the end of the day, if I don't want the championship, then what the hell am I doing in this business? If I don't want to be the top dog, then what the hell am I doing here in the WWE? If I don't want to be the best that I can be, then why don't I just quit? So I'm so sick and tired of people being like, oh, Rhea shouldn't want the championship. No, Rhea bloody Ripley wants the bloody championship. I want the gold. I want to be the top dog. This is my division, and I got to prove and show everyone exactly who Rhea bloody Ripley is once again.
All right, well, the intensity is emanating off of you. You talk about going through people. I guess that starts tonight with Raquel in a street fight. Thank you for this, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Well, very fired up and emotional Rhea Ripley in that interview. I want to talk about the early days first. And back in 2021, last woman standing match between Raquel Rodriguez and Rhea Ripley, a bit similar to what we'll see tonight in the street fight. Raquel won that match. Does that play it all into tonight?
100%. I was there for that match. I was at the desk in NXT calling that match. I saw up close and personal just how heated things got between the two of them. And I believe that Rhea Ripley is a bully. And I don't mean that as an insult. She's a bully in ring. She physically bullies all of her opponents. The one issue with Raquel is that Rhea Ripley simply cannot, because Raquel is bigger, Raquel is stronger, and I believe Raquel is tougher than Rhea bloody Ripley.
But Jackie, after that, the last woman standing match, Rhea has never lost a match to Raquel Rodriguez from that point on. So I think Raquel probably has that in her mind as well.
I would imagine she does. I mean, what Rhea Ripley has accomplished in WWE is undeniable. What's interesting to me is the recent run that Rhea Ripley is on ever since dropping her championship, right? She has failed to win the quote-unquote big ones, right? She lost at WrestleMania, she lost at Money in the Bank. Every time she's had a chance to get back on the path to a championship, she hasn't been able to get over the hump and get the W. I think there's a little bit of pressure on Rhea Ripley right now.
Well, the Judgment Day has had a lot to do with that as well. I mean, Raquel Rodriguez, of course, costing her in the Queen of the Ring. And ever since Rhea Ripley was exorcised, so to speak, from the Judgment Day, it's just been a thorn in her side. They just won't go away.
Yeah, well, Rhea Ripley is, of course, one of the top dogs in the entire division. They have a bunch of history. They kind of are tied together for eternity. I don't believe they're ever not going to have beef. They're never going to smooth things over. And I think that Raquel is somebody who was so close to Liv Morgan, who, of course, unfortunately has suffered a devastating injury recently, is going to be AWOL for a while. Raquel sees that as an opportunity to step up and fill the void that Liv Morgan has left. And a big part of doing that is finally putting Rhea Ripley down for good.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I completely agree with you. I wanted to say those exact things. I think if I'm Raquel and I beat the likes of Rhea Ripley tonight in a street fight, no less, I'm going immediately to Adam Pearce, and I am asking for a singles title opportunity, because I think that's how much a win over someone like Rhea would be for Raquel.
Well, Raquel also has a lot on her mind, and Wade alluded to it. Liv Morgan, her tag team champion, out for months now after shoulder surgery. Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, the general managers of Raw and SmackDown, still trying to determine what is going to happen to those tag team titles. So that's probably weighing on Raquel's mind as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they have a number of options. We've all seen champions, because of injuries, stripped of their titles in the past. Even if it's a tag champion who is healthy, if their partner goes down, they can be stripped. Alternatively, there may be a replacement. And I can think of one young lady who might be the perfect fit, a young minx named Roxanne Perez. She's been quite active with the Judgment Day.
And it's funny you bring up her name, because remember, in a street fight, there are no disqualifications in a street fight. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we continue with the Countdown Show, live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, just after this. This crowd is hyped up.
Welcome to Saturday night's main event.
Saturday night's main event is back. The lights, the legends, the chaos. And now, the Icon returns for one final match. You're next! Goldberg, Gunther, for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. No one spared. everyone's spear. Saturday night's main event, live nationwide Saturday, July 12th at 8 on NBC and Peacock.
Lyra Valkyria versus Nia Jax in the Queen of the Ring Tournament Finals. Lyra has Nia in trouble. Nia trying to make it back to her feet. There's a missile drop kick, drives Nia back to the corner.
I think Lyra may have lost her footing slightly coming off the
DDT!
That didn't miss anything.
Cover for the win on Jax and a kick out.
An emphatic kick out. And now it's doubt on the face of Lyra as we look again at the breathtaking tornado DDT.
And that could have been her one chance right there, and she understood that.
But this is where you find out a lot about yourself in a matchup. Lyra's going, I've never been here before. I've never faced her before. I've never had that at stake. This is all a learning experience that could serve Lyra well into her career.
Lyra still lands on, she may have tweaked her knee. She came off the top rope. Drop by Nia Jax.
And Jax showing a sense of urgency, wasting no time dragging Lyra to the corner.
Again, the problem with Lyra, if she hurt her knee, this could be well over. Trying to make it back to her feet.
Playing possum.
Oh, now! Lyra with an opportunity.
Jax is trapped in the corner.
Here comes Lyra. Oh, double stomp. Down goes Jax. Stacks her up for the win and an upset and a kick out at 2.
Lyra now making the climb to the top turnbuckle, looking to continue her onslaught.
Oh, leg drop to the back of the neck. Can Lyra capitalize? Does she have anything left?
Lyra trying to put Nia into position, hook in the leg.
Couldn't quite hook the leg, and it allowed Nia to get the shoulder up again. And again, almost a look of desperation on the face of Lyra Valkyria. What can I do? I've delivered everything I can to Nia Jax. And the problem is, with her finishing move, the Nightwing, Corey, she's got to get her opponent off their feet and into position. I don't know if she can do that with Nia Jax.
I agree.
If you make
Lyra's going to give it a shot. Jax just too strong. Sternum first.
Oh!
And followed up by the irresistible force. And there's that smile I mentioned, that $1 million smile on the wrecking ball that is Nia Jax.
Now Nia with Lyra on her shoulders, climbing up now, trying to go to the second rope, which she does.
Oh, baby, this could be it. But
Lyra trying to slip down, maybe looking for a sunset power bomb. Has Nia, can she quite get her up and over?
Lyra was obviously paying attention to Sammy.
Can't quite do it. Annihilator.
That is it. That is it. Count to 20.
Nia's the Queen of the Ring. Wow.
Well, Nia found herself, found her footing, and has found the Queen of the Ring crown.
Here is her winner, the new Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax! Well, ladies and gentlemen, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, it has really been a weekend of champions so far. Last night, Friday Night SmackDown took place here in Kingdom Arena. Nia Jax was involved in a WWE Women's Championship match against the champion Tiffany Stratton, and it was last woman standing. Julia's been dominated the United States champ.
Yes, she has. And Zelina Vega got the sting knocked out of her early in this one. But you know, Vega is not going to give up.
There's the resilience of Meteora. Zelina Vega beginning to build momentum. Code Red delivered by Zelina for the win. Is it enough? And Julia gets her feet on the bottom rope, Wade.
She hit her nuke. What is it going to take to put this Japanese superstar away? Arrivederci, maybe the kiss of death.
Zelina is down. Julia with the cover. The Northern Lights bomb brings her the championship. Julia's biggest win on Friday Night SmackDown brings her United States Championship gold.
told you it's a weekend of champions here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We'll show you highlights of the last women's standing match and the tag team championship match a bit later on. But a big night tonight for the man who is known as the underdog from the underground, none other than Sami Zayn. Will be a fan favorite here tonight in Riyadh. He has a lot on his mind as he prepares to battle Karrion Kross here tonight. You know, this is an interesting match for Sami Zayn because he's been obsessed with the fact that he wants to one day become world champion. He has to put that aside for a moment because now he has to deal with this guy who, and I'd like to call Karrion Kross the devil on Sami Zayn's shoulder. He's trying to get Sami, Jackie, to embrace the dark side because Kross says if Sami does that, he'll become champion.
Listen, Karrion Kross is like walking rage bait. He just makes people so mad and so annoyed, and I feel like Sami Zayn, we saw him fall victim to that on Monday night, right? He fell right into Karrion Kross's trap. I mean, Karrion Kross might as well have said, checkmate, I just got exactly what I wanted. I mean, I know that Karrion Kross is a bit of a jerk, and I'm not supposed to like him, but I feel like I want to start calling him Master Chef because every week he's cooking, and every week I'm eating it up. He is so funny, even though he's a jerk. And I think the WWE Universe sees that, and we see how they react to him, you know, backstage, in arenas, online. And I think he's very much in control, sort of coming into this match.
Well, ask the New Day what Karrion Kross is capable of. They changed their entire demeanor because of this guy.
Ask anyone who went through NXT when Karrion Kross was pretty much running that show for about 2 straight years, how dangerous Karrion Kross. And I think a lot of people have slipped into the mistake of believing Karrion Kross isn't that big a deal because he hasn't been too prominent on programming and PLEs over the last year or so. That could change tonight.
Byron Saxton is standing by with Karrion Kross.
Karrion Kross, Scarlett, I appreciate the time of both you. Karrion, first things first, congratulations on your first premium live event match in quite some time. But with that said, you've obviously done a great job of getting under the skin of Sami Zayn. What are you trying to prove here tonight?
What I'm trying to prove is the truth. It's the truth that I see. It's the truth that the entire WWE Universe should see. That Sami Zayn is a misdirection artist. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's not a good guy. This is a charade. He almost believes the things that he's saying. He's trying to convince himself that he's some other guy. He's got this horrible, violent history. You know what he does? He collects sympathy and he weaponizes that and uses that as a vehicle to put himself in advantageous positions. Want some examples? You guys remember the OG Bloodline? I do. And by the way, I love how you want to talk about Sami Zayn. Everything's about Sami Zayn's story and becoming the world champion. Sami Zayn can't shut up about becoming the world champion. Nobody ever wants to ask me about my story. Funny, eh? That's okay. I'll proceed with humility. Because guess what? The entire world is talking about my story right now. I don't want to get in trouble and have another viral moment. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Karrion. Thank you, Scarlett. Back to you guys on the panel.
Listen, there's no doubt about it. Karrion Kross is a psychopath. He's psychotic, but like any good psychopath, a lot of the stuff that he's saying may ring true to a lot of people, including the WWE fans, and obviously Jackie Redmond's bought into all this.
I am a little bit. I think the one thing that we can't deny is that everyone is talking about Karrion Kross right now. He is creating his own reality. And to answer your question before, I worry about Sami Zayn in this spot because Sami Zayn is coming off a loss to Randy Orton in the King of the Ring tournament. And if he loses a week later on a big PLE stage to Karrion Kross, I mean, that's not getting Sami to the front of the line for a world championship opportunity. But Karrion Kross, I mean, he has everything to gain. He has a chance to prove that he doesn't just cook on the sidelines and feed the fans these viral moments that he calls them. He has a chance to prove he can cook in the ring too. And if he does that, you said it, Wade, he can really change the trajectory of his career. Maybe we'll start seeing him on more PLEs.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people call Karrion Kross the devil on his shoulder and a psychopath. One thing I haven't heard anyone call Karrion Kross is a liar. Tell me one thing he said about Sami Zayn so far that isn't actually true. Sami Zayn, historically, no offense to the guy, has not been good enough to beat the world champions. He's had several attempts. Sami Zayn works in an incredibly violent industry, yet he presents himself as the picture of purity. These things, to me, don't add up. And of course, I think Sami Zayn is going to be highly fired up to punish Karrion Kross tonight, which further taps into the message that Karrion Kross has been telling us all.
Bottom line is all this. You can create viral moments. You can get a lot of WWE fans behind you in your corner. But you got to produce in the ring, and you got to win. To me, this is a must-win for Karrion Kross tonight.
Before you produce in the ring, you have to be given an opportunity to produce in the ring, and that's been the issue from Karrion Kross's perspective. Opportunity knocks tonight, Karrion. Make it count.
Yeah,
What does it say about me that I like a psycho?
Well, I mean, you were putting them over. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the Kingdom Arena. It is filling up for what is going to be Night of Champions here tonight, including the main event, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, and the United States Championship on the line. Jacob Fatu defends against Solo Sikoa.
At WrestleMania, everyone saw what I already knew, that Jacob Fatu, he's the future. But let me remind you something. Nobody wanted Jacob except me. I love you, Solo! They thought he was trouble, thought he was too much of a risk. Who saw this ass right now? But you know who changed that? Me. I'm the reason that Jacob's the champion.
Jacob Fatu in his first defense at Backlash.
Solo Sikoa maybe saving his championship. Oh, who the hell? JC Mateo!
Whatever the deal, Solo Sikoa has struck here. Fatu apparently had no clue.
I didn't need y'all help at Backlash. I don't trust you. I don't know you. He ain't my blood, and he damn sure ain't my family.
You really trust Jacob after what he did tonight, man? JC, my man, you worry too much. He is literally all gas and no brains. Okay? I got it under control. All gas.
Solo's closing in on the briefcase.
And no brains.
So Solo says, I wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for him. This is exactly what happens when you don't get in, where you fit in. Jacob, I feel terrible about what happened. I love you, Jacob. So you love me, huh? The way I see things is you've been using me. You brought me in because you thought I was gonna bring you gold? Hey, Solo, look at me when I'm speaking to you. Ever since I won this U.S. title, you're the one that been acting different. And if that's what I think it is, then fight me for it.
The softly spoken words of Solo Sikoa were as hollow as they come.
Jimmy Uso
made the save, albeit too briefly.
You want to talk smack? Just stand up.
The way you stepping up to Solo, that's what I should have done a long time ago.
If you just get in where you fit in, then we gonna be all right, Big Jim.
I brought you into this world, and I will take you out.
Solo, you better get in where you fit in. Because if you don't, I'm about to dog walk your ass for the U.S. Championship. Yarame.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing in the ring right now because this ring, in all likelihood, will become a battlefield between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. But that battlefield is going to have a lot of irony involved with it. When you look at a guy like Jacob Fatu, for years, he was seen as someone by people in this company as a can't-miss prospect, someone who is an ultra-talented athlete. But the problem was Jacob Fatu's reputation. A reputation as being self-destructive, a reputation of lacking discipline. Well, insert Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa manages to bring Jacob Fatu to WWE despite that reputation. But here's the irony. A little over a year after that happened, now it's Solo Sikoa who's using that same reputation against Jacob Fatu, of being undisciplined, of being self-destructive. All gas, no brains. So the way you can look at it is this match is going to end one of two ways. Solo Sikoa will prove that the reputation is correct and he will beat Jacob Fatu and become the new United States champion. However, we could also see Samoan Werewolf prove that he is more than capable of hunting alone. Michael, Jackie, Wade, back to you.
Hey, Byron, one thing, it's interesting seeing you actually standing up in the middle of the ring. Usually you're on your back looking up at the lights. Got it.
Uncalled for. Completely uncalled for.
Take a seat, Byron. Cole got you good.
Some great points made from Byron there, though. And here's the situation. Everybody's talking about how Solo was so gracious to bring Jacob Fatu to WWE, and he did. And he brought him here, and he gave him a good life. But as what I've seen transpire over the last year is Solo Sikoa using Jacob Fatu, becoming jealous and bitter of Jacob Fatu, and now he brings in another guy to make sure Jacob Fatu's kicked to the curb so Solo can now get the United States Championship.
No, I mean, you've got that completely backward. You've been drinking the Jacob Fatu Kool-Aid.
I haven't been drinking.
It's good Kool-Aid.
Who's been using who here? That's the question. We all know Jacob Fatu. For years, we'd all heard his name, Mr. Untouchable. OG Bloodline, family members, when they were running hot and all the power, they never brought him in for a reason. That he was too dangerous. WWE management, they saw the hype online. They never brought him in. Too dangerous. Solo Sikoa risked his own neck to bring Jacob Fatu into this company. Guided Jacob Fatu to become the star he is now, where all around the world, everywhere we go, people want Jacob Fatu. Thanks to Solo Sikoa.
Jacob Fatu created that for himself.
No, because the door was opened by Solo Sikoa. Now Jacob Fatu has got everything he wants. He doesn't need Solo Sikoa anymore. He kicks Solo Sikoa to the curb. You can laugh all you want. These are facts, Michael Cole.
I'm so excited to finally get to disagree with you. Delulu is not the Solulu. What's happening right now is Solo is experiencing a little bit of karma, I think, right? Roman Reigns brought Solo Sikoa in to be a quote-unquote enforcer. Fast forward, Solo Sikoa takes the Ulafala. He's self-proclaiming himself the new tribal chief. And now the enforcer that he brought in, Jacob Fatu, is serving him a very similar dish. I think Solo's getting maybe a little taste of his own medicine. I don't know.
I agree with Jackie. I think Solo Sikoa is bitter, and he's jealous, and he would like
He is jealous, for sure. Good word.
And he would like nothing better than to take the United States Championship from Jacob Fatu.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I'd like to take the United States Championship from Jacob Fatu. I just physically can't do it, and I'm not going anywhere near the guy. But, yeah, of course, that's a real sweetener. But this is a family rift. There's some severe bitterness between these two, and I think this is going to be a savage affair. And I suspect, for the first time, Jacob Fatu is going to be taught a valuable lesson by Solo Sikoa.
Night of Champions is going to be electric thanks to the WWE fans here in Riyadh. We're at the Kingdom of Arena, getting set for Night of Champions. Plenty more to come. Yeah, keep that chant up. Plenty more to come on the countdown to Night of Champions.
This summer,
Can't stop, won't stop.
WWE and Paris
Can't stop, won't stop.
join forces for 2 unstoppable nights. With the first ever Clash in Paris, followed by a massive Monday Night Raw. Witness Paris light up the world. WWE Clash in Paris and Monday Night Raw. Tickets on sale now.
It is now time to crown the latest king of the ring.
Balor recently drafted the Monday Night Raw. I would love to have the brand new King of the Ring on Mondays.
Well, we'll have King of the Ring on SmackDown if Xavier Woods pulls off the win.
Xavier digging down deep now. And Balor.
Xavier Woods took a little too much time trying to climb up the ropes. Such an unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah, because the problem is now that Woods was in Balor's drop zone. And realizing that, made it to his feet.
Woods with that tiger uppercut just rocked the jaw of Finn Balor. Xavier now. Xavier Woods is looking for a superplex. If he can muscle up Finn Balor. High risk, but will it be high reward?
Ryan is down to superplex. Xavier into the cover to become king, and a kick out by Balor.
Not enough to put Balor away. My goodness. It's a testament to the toughness, to the guts and the will of both of these men, Finn Balor in particular, because watch this impact. Bone-shaking impact in the superplex. Woods delivered perfectly. Balor lucky he was able to kick out after that one.
And now what does Xavier Woods do?
Once
It's
again,
Xavier's turn to go up top.
Balor now laying still with a rattled spine from the superplex. Woods thinking about the crown.
There's the elbow.
Oh no,
He got caught by Balor for the win. What a counter. Woods kicks.
Balor now looking to push the pace. Sling blade.
And again connecting.
Balor locked in on Woods.
Now Woods is driven into the corner, and you have to feel like the momentum has completely shifted to Balor.
It certainly has. Finn Balor now entering his comfort zone. Perched on the top rope. Xavier Woods lying prone.
Look for the coup de grace. Xavier able to move out of harm's way.
Our maestro cradle applied by Woods. Shoulders down.
Is it enough to win the matchup? Balor in two.
And Zagiri rocks Balor. Out of the ribs.
And now Xavier Woods. Oh! Knees connecting.
Gut buster. Very unique.
And he's got Balor in the center of the ring.
We know Woods likes to fly. One more time. It didn't work out the last time, but Xavier Woods tried to attack from the air.
Woods gonna walk the top rope, deliver the elbow!
Cover!
Cover! Off the limit! King Xavier!
The dream has come true for Xavier Woods!
I told you, this was my destiny! That crown belongs to me!
The new king of the ring, King Xavier. Oh, hail King Xavier!
This is for Breeze! I'm the king! Look at the fireworks! Hail King! Get right! Let your boy get right! Let your boy get...
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the countdown show to Night of Champions. It's actually, as I mentioned before, been a weekend of champions. Friday night SmackDown last night saw the Street Profits defend the tag team titles against the Wyatt Six. Tag team championship match. Dawkins now dragged out by DIY. Fight gets underway outside the ring. And now Los Garces gets involved. The official has to call for the bell. Uncle Howdy sends Big Red Eric Rowan to the ring. And Rowan now pancaking DIY. Four-on-one. Rowan finally sent over the top rope. Uh-oh. Sister Abigail. Dawkins gonna fly. Oh, God! The tag team champions standing tall, but I don't believe the Wyatt Six are through yet. Wade, you said at ringside last night, the tag team division is wild right now on Friday Night SmackDown.
Yeah, pretty much since January, it has been non-stop chaos in that division. The championships have bounced around several times until the Street Profits laid down the gauntlet, beat all teams, and have looked like the powerhouse duo ever since. Well, enter the Wyatt Six. Things change in a hurry around here on SmackDown, and I can see 5, 6, maybe 7 teams of chaos going forward.
Also a tremendous last woman standing match between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax last night for the WWE Women's Championship. We'll show you highlights here in just a little bit. But let's talk about the main event last night, which was CM Punk and John Cena face-to-face, although it was some punkonomics from CM Punk. How do you think Punk did?
I mean, I loved it. I thought it was incredible. I want to know, I mean, you were around, you were ringside when that was who John Cena was. I think your opinion on this matters more than either of ours.
Well, I think Punk did an unbelievable job. He hit John below the belt on a couple of occasions, but I think John deserved it after the pipe bomb from the week prior. To me, it was pretty cool seeing CM Punk get out of the shell a little bit, not be that serious Punk all the time. Have a little bit of fun with a serious undertone with Cena last night.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it was the perfect retort to Cena's effort at a pipe bomb the week before, where Cena himself took some low blows at Punk. And I would say last night's rap was the last thing that John Cena was expecting. Some ghosts of his past came to the fore, and John Cena at the end of that rap was completely rattled.
It was the perfect balance from Punk Life, I guess is what it said on the screen, of like serious jabs and making like a solid rap, and then just like the perfect amount of cringe considering Punk's age being dressed like that. He will be a meme forever. That's never going anywhere.
And the talking is over now, because tonight it's our main event. The last time ever you're going to see CM Punk and John Cena in the ring at the same time. This, of course, for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cena versus CM Punk. One more time.
Yin and Yang. Two entities in constant flux and transformation. Totally interdependent to exist. John Cena and CM Punk. Yin and Yang. John Cena, the clean-cut, untouchable chosen one.
If you want some, come get some!
A decorated champion. A valiant in-ring competitor, and above all else, a man of the people. And after more than 2 decades in the spotlight, an icon who once set the standard of hustle, loyalty, and respect. CM Punk. The loud, defiant voice of the voiceless. The rebel who was never meant to be king.
I've been the best ever since day one. There's one thing you're better at than I am, John, and that's kissing ass.
His desire to sit alone atop the summit would lead to bitterness and resentment, self-destruction and banishment. But time changes everything. Yin becomes Yang. Yang becomes Yin. Contrasting dualities, destined to be bound. And the battle in which these two have been endlessly engaged finds itself with new motivation.
That title has corrupted you.
I've been the victim of an abusive relationship for 25 years. Please sit on your ass and watch me be great.
Instead of a graceful exit, John Cena, detached and disillusioned, has vowed to
ruin wrestling for everyone.
While CM Punk has returned from exile, a beacon of hope and change. A new face for the company he once vowed to burn down. The balance has shifted. Light becomes shadow. Shadow now stands in the sun.
I have shut your mouth and beaten your best.
You can't beat me. When I'm at my best, you never could. I won the title. I left with the title. You're trying to follow in my footsteps.
I hate this idea that you're the best in the world. You're not. I'm the greatest of all time. The truth is, Punk, I am jealous that you have conned these people that you're the best in the world. Remember who gave you the stage for your pipe bomb, pal? And what have you done with it since then, huh?
the greatest of all time.
Night of Champions. Ball's in your court, hero.
The best in the world.
You can't see me? I see through you.
Positioned once again upon opposing shores for a final reckoning.
It is one of the all-time great rivalries in the history of WWE. As Corey Graves mentioned in that package, a complete role reversal as we head into the main event tonight. Wade, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who wins this match for the undisputed WWE Championship?
I think it's going to be CM Punk. I think John Cena has probably met his match tonight. I think CM Punk knows every dirty trick in the book, regardless of how mature and benevolent CM Punk may present these days. Deep down at heart, the guy's a winner, and whatever it takes tonight, John Cena meets his match.
Jackie?
Oh my gosh. You know, I said this earlier in the show, and I'll say it again because I think it's worth repeating. The stat I came into this show with is that John Cena has never defeated CM Punk with a title on the line via pinfall or submission. So part of me feels like CM Punk has John Cena's number, but that John Cena didn't stoop as low as this John Cena is willing to go. So for me, as much as CM Punk knows every trick in the book, I don't know. John Cena has proven over the last couple of months he's willing to just fall from grace and do whatever it takes, regardless of what any of us think, to get it done. He's willing to be disgusting about it, and he'll do that again against CM Punk.
Well, John Cena wraps up his career in WWE as the retirement tour ends at the end of this year. Last visit for John to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He promises to leave as the last real champion in WWE, and he's on the road, Wade, to do just that. Now, the winner of this match tonight will probably headline SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey against either Cody Rhodes or Randy Orton, who battle in the King of the Ring tournament tonight. Will it be Cena? Will it be Punk? We'll find out that in our main event tonight. But for John Cena, again, he's well on his way to leaving WWE as the, quote, last real champion.
Yeah, trying his best to ruin wrestling. Well, CM Punk, if he isn't a legend already, if he hasn't made enough headlines already in his career, he can be the guy who saves WWE, saves the future of this industry.
How ironic.
Saves that championship and the legacy attached to it. Like, one more for the record books for CM Punk if he can get it done tonight.
Yeah, he's looking for a 6th world championship, but as we just mentioned, Jackie, it is ironic that it comes down to CM Punk, who may be the person that needs to save WWE from John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena is the epitome of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. He has become the villain, low blow after low blow along the way, to get it done, to make history, to cement himself for now as the greatest of all time. So I know you think CM Punk's going to get it done tonight. I wish I felt the same, but I just think John Cena is willing to stoop lower than anyone else because CM Punk, you know, has evolved a little bit, and I think he wants to prove he can still beat John Cena clean.
Well, despite everything that I've said and that many people have said about John Cena, I do truly believe that John is the greatest of all time, that he is the GOAT, that he's a 17-time world champion, and as the months and days tick away, I think John Cena may make good on his promise to leave WWE as the last real champion. Again, the winner of this match tonight will probably defend the undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam against the winner of the King of the Ring tournament, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, and that takes place at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The first ever 2-night SummerSlam coming up the first weekend of August. Well, last weekend we had a meeting across the river at the Javits Center on the West Side Highway. It was part of Fanatics Fest. Athletes and entertainers from all over the world spending the weekend with what amounted to be record crowd of over 100,000 fans. Of course, we had the SummerSlam kickoff show, which featured Jey Uso and John Cena, Triple H, among others. Then entertainers and athletes, well, they all wanted to be WWE superstars. They would try to do superstars entrances, and then some of our superstars would even be involved in, well, athletic events and competition against some of our own WWE fans. Cool seeing James Harden dressing up as Hulk Hogan. It was an incredible event, and of course it was capped off on Sunday with the press conference for the massive, one of the biggest boxing matches in history that will take place September 13th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford for the unified super middleweight championship. That was actually the second press conference on this tour. The first was right here in Riyadh a week prior, and then had another one yesterday out in Las Vegas, which was a lot calmer than the first two were. But this probably the biggest boxing match, at least of this century.
Yeah, 2 pound-for-pounders, man, massive reputation. Something's got to give. Cannot wait to check this one out.
And again, Alvarez versus Crawford. I'm picking Canelo Alvarez. I don't know how you bet against him, but it's going to be incredible in Las Vegas in September.
Listen, I've never seen a boxing fight live. It's on my bucket list, so I gotta talk to CM Punk since he's the face of TKO and see if he can help me out and get me to one of these boxing fights.
Do you guys want to know how big this fight is for Las Vegas? Of course, WrestleMania going to Las Vegas again next year. We were there last year. We brought in a ton of publicity for Las Vegas, but this fight is so huge that the UNLV Running Rebels football team actually had to move their opening game of their season back a week so they could accommodate this massive fight. Alvarez-Crawford, September 13th, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Well, you know, WWE's newest series, LFG, is back for season 2. 16 athletes in the WWE Performance Center are competing for a chance at an NXT contract with the help of 4 Hall of Famers: Undertaker, Booker T, Bubba Ray Dudley, and Michelle McCool. The competition is fierce, and the 4 newest members of LFG are looking to make a name for themselves as this season promises to be even crazier and more intense than season 1.
Hey, all the way to the bait, baby. Oh, yes!
The draft has concluded, and tonight, all 4 of the newest future greats will have the opportunity to showcase themselves in matches.
I'll tell you what, Trill London impressing out of the gate. His first match here on LFG.
The athleticism, the former NFL safety from the Miami Dolphins.
Nice timing on that. Wow, all right. Very impressive debut for Trill London. Our first look at Summer Sorrell here on LFG.
Welcome to LFG, Summer, but I'm not going to slow down for you, so you better keep up.
There we go. Fire up, kid. Hurry up. DJ, in that ring, you're dead to me. Break him down.
Ooh. Wow. Hayes, welcome to LFG.
Oh, my. Monster.
This season is going to be crazy.
It's an historic night here tonight in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, because we will crown the winner of the first ever Queen's Crown Tournament. Zelina may have her where she wants her, and now Zelina Vega starting to pick up the pace. And Doudrop looks to use her power, and Zelina Vega her speed in this match tonight here at Crown Jewel. Hook of the leg. Doudrop's got to power it 2 again.
It's just the time it took to try to reposition Doudrop's body, allowed some recovery time, which allowed Doudrop to kick out.
You're right about that, Saxton. Zelina declaring this one just about over. Wait a second.
Over for Zelina Vega, you mean?
From Doudrop, cover to win the Queen's Crown.
And Zelina just barely able to escape before the count of 3. Take another look at this. The power of Doudrop. Sidewalk slam nearly put Zelina through the ring. But Vega continues to battle.
Zelina Vega called tonight the biggest night of her career. She said, I'm ready for this. I can't let this slip away.
Same could be said for Doudrop right here. The highest profile match Doudrop has had in her short career here in WWE.
The nerves could be playing a factor for both of these women just because of the magnitude of the situation.
The world watching tonight. Crown Jewel on Peacock, running senton, cover by Doudrop to win. Is it enough? And Zelina somehow kicks out.
I have no idea how Zelina Vega found any ability to kick out of that predicament.
And Corey, if you're Doudrop, you got to become frustrated, right?
100%.
Oh, look at this.
Crushing impact of the senton by Doudrop. Hats off to Zelina for surviving. This is that New York toughness coming out of Vega right now.
Oh! Went for a big splash. Vega Moved out of harm's way. Zelina Vega's got an opportunity now. Can she somehow do it? She does! Are you kidding me? A code red! Zelina Vega's the queen!
Queen Zelina!
I'm in shock right now. La Reina, Queen Zelina.
I am amazed, defying the odds. A true underdog Zelina Vega was, at least from a physical standpoint in this matchup. But Zelina...
How did Zelina Vega pull this off?
An impressive control of her body, utilizing her own body and Doudrop's momentum to deliver a fantastic code red powerbomb that stunned Doudrop just long enough for 3. And here she is, the brand new queen, Zelina Vega.
I am in absolute disbelief right now that Zelina Vega has won the Queen's Crown tournament.
So for the rest of history, the rest of WWE history, Zelina Vega will be able to call herself the first ever Queen's Crown tournament winner.
All hail Queen Zelina!
Welcome back to the countdown tonight of Champions live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We are just over 35 minutes away from kicking this thing off, and as we do everywhere we go, WWE Superstars, we're out in the community here in Riyadh ahead of Night of Champions, supporting Special Olympics and Make-A-Wish Kids.
Ahead of WWE Night of Champions in Riyadh, WWE partnered with the General Entertainment Authority to positively impact the local community. As part of this initiative, WWE Superstars hosted Special Olympics athletes at the WWE Experience for a private tour and gaming activities. Superstars also visited the Saudi German hospital, spending time with Make-A-Wish children from the Riyadh area. WWE and GEA are committed to creating lasting memories and making a positive impact globally.
And then there were 2. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the countdown to Night of Champions. The backstage interviewers are taking over. Byron Saxton, welcome to the panel.
I feel so honored to be here on this panel. I feel so prim and proper. These people have been chanting my name, so I feel like I love them to death. I need to travel with this group. This is awesome.
Listen, this crowd so far, I mean, the show hasn't even started, and it's already A+ no notes for the crowds in the WWE universe here in Saudi Arabia. And why wouldn't they be excited? This is an incredible card that we have here tonight that also includes the King of the Ring finals, and they are some heavy hitters facing off in the final. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Here's Wade Barrett with how we got to this final. They do love you, Byron. Listen
Stop
to them.
it.
Don't blush.
Stop it.
The 2025 edition of the King of the Ring tournament marks the 24th time this battle for dominance and glory has been brought to the WWE Universe. 16 competitors, each with their sights set not only on the crown, but a championship opportunity at SummerSlam. Chaos reigned supreme in our first fatal four-way first-round battle, but it was someone not in the match that got everybody talking, as LA Knight would surprise everyone by putting a muzzle on Bron Breakker and, in turn, giving a royal opportunity to Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn's in the semi-finals!
Unfortunately for LA Knight, things would not go nearly as well in his qualifying match.
Big Bronson Reed arrives! The dogs are barking!
LA Knight would pay the consequences for his actions, and Carmelo Hayes would look to advance, only to be met with an
RKO!
Moving the Viper into the semis. In SmackDown's second first-round match, high stakes were at hand for Cody Rhodes in his quest for championship redemption.
Cody counters.
One step closer to redemption.
Closing out the first round, Jey Uso would enter battered and bruised against three absolute powerhouses, but things would spiral out of control when Bron Breakker, Sami Zayn, Penta, and LA Knight would all return to get in their last licks.
There's carnage all over the place.
Amidst the mayhem, main event Jey Uso would emerge victorious.
Jey Uso with the win.
The semi-finals would kick into high gear on SmackDown, with Sami Zayn looking to march towards the World Championship opportunity that has eluded him his entire career. In his way, 14-time World Champion Randy Orton.
The RKO!
Dreams dashed for Sami Zayn as Randy Orton moves into the finals. On the other side of the bracket, friendships and alliances were put aside as main event Jey Uso took on the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
There! Rhodes, though, back to his feet. Cody Cutter, crossroads. Cody Rhodes is in the finals of the King of the Ring.
Wrestling royalty, born for this business. Each looking to write the next chapter in their legacy.
There is no line that I will not cross, even if it means going through you, so that I can get to John Cena at SummerSlam, beat him, and get my 15th World Championship.
I do my best work when I'm backed into a corner.
I want that title, and I am coming for it.
Who will become King of the Ring?
We are only a few hours away from answering that question. I mean, I know they're chanting, "We love Jackie" right now.
We do love you, Jackie.
But they are really great fans here in Saudi Arabia. They're so excited. They have not stopped chanting from the beginning of this show, and I don't think they're going to stop all night. I love you guys, too. Thank you so much.
It's passion. That's what we're here for. It's passion from our superstars, passion from our fans, and we're going to see history later on tonight.
We certainly are. Let's talk about this King of the Ring final, because I said this before. I mean, these are two heavy hitters. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes. They go way back. But in a lot of ways, Cody Rhodes is not the same Cody Rhodes that Randy Orton knew way back when. What do you make of this matchup?
It's really interesting when you look at this matchup, because oftentimes you hear dream match thrown around.
Sure.
Sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. In this case, it is. When Cody Rhodes returned to WWE a couple WrestleManias ago, the buzz starts to... People start to kind of name names, potential opponents for Cody Rhodes. And Randy Orton was one of those guys because of their history. Part of legacy, Randy Orton being a mentor for Cody Rhodes. Well, here's how the timing gets a little funky. Because Cody Rhodes is in WWE, and then shortly after that, Randy Orton gets hurt.
Yeah.
Spinal fusion surgery, he's out for about 18 months. Orton comes back, teams up with Cody, and that talk starts to get a little stronger. They team up at Survivor Series, and people are starting to ask, are we gonna see it? Orton versus Rhodes. We didn't know how, we didn't know where, but it's happening tonight, and we are pumped about it.
Yeah, we are getting it, and they've both earned their spot in this match, right? And there's a lot on the line here, not just bragging rights to say one beats the other, but also an opportunity for a title match at SummerSlam, which is a month away. This sounds like a weird question because both of these guys certainly want to do that, but is there one superstar that needs this win more than the other, in your opinion?
I'm going to look at the Randy Orton aspect.
Okay.
Remember what happened last year. Randy Orton was right there at the finish line, facing Gunther, the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. Very controversial finish that allowed Gunther to become King of the Ring, go on to win the WWE, the world title, and have a 259-day reign. So if you're Randy Orton, you're going, man, if things had just been a little bit different, that could have been me. And now he's back here in the finals again.
And proving he still got it, right? And I think we're not talking enough about how Randy Orton is still very much in the conversation and in the race to catch John Cena for most world titles of all time. He is not that far back, so you cannot sleep on the Viper. That is still very much a goal that he can attain. So if he can get that championship match at SummerSlam, he just climbs up that ladder a little bit more and continues to nip on the heels of John Cena, because I think Randy Orton could do it.
He's right there.
I don't know.
But I will think about this aspect too. Remember the interaction they had on SmackDown last night. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes specified, as did Randy Orton, that they are both willing to do whatever it possibly takes. We know Orton can go there. Tonight we may find out how far Cody Rhodes is willing to go.
Listen, if you missed that interaction, it is on YouTube in
Yes.
full. So you can find it there before tonight's Night of Champions, gets underway. All right, we talked about the King of the Ring final. Let's transition over to the Queen of the Ring final because we have 2 crowns to give out tonight. We got Jade Cargill versus Asuka. A huge opportunity for Jade Cargill to prove that she can do it one-on-one. She can live up to the hype in the ring against a behemoth in Asuka, but also an opportunity for Asuka to really sort of have this night be the start of sort of the resurgence of her career.
I've had a couple interviews with Jade Cargill, a couple of private conversations, and she truly believes it's a formality, that she's going to become Queen of the Ring. But that could be a massive mistake if you're Jade Cargill. Remember, Asuka's one of the most decorated superstars ever in WWE. Asuka was also out for quite some time with a knee injury, so you don't think Asuka feels like she has something to prove? All this hype around Jade Cargill. The Empress of Tomorrow wants to come out here and say, Jade, you're good, you got potential.
I think Jade Cargill has a lot to prove tonight. I think this is a huge, huge moment, a pivotal one in the career of Jade Cargill. Asuka, she could lose tonight, and obviously that would suck for her. She doesn't want to lose, but she's already proven that she is one of the best to ever step in a WWE ring. Jade Cargill has a long way to go to prove that. She's proven that she's got the look. She's proven that she can build a fan base. She's proven that she can talk, right? I mean, she literally looks like a superhero.
Jade Cargill has aura.
And the aura is off the charts for Jade Cargill, right? And we know she's strong. Asuka talked about as much last night. But Asuka's going to be ready for that. So what else does Jade Cargill have? This is a massive opportunity for her to prove that she belongs in the ring with the best of the best. A win over Asuka does that for her.
The big thing for Jade Cargill tonight is diversifying her offense, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's only been in WWE for a cup of tea. We all know that. But if Jade Cargill can do something to somehow, some way surprise Asuka, break out a new move, insert a new strategy, I think that's the key to victory for Jade Cargill to become the Queen of the Ring.
All right, it is a huge, huge match here tonight at Night of Champions. The Queen of the Ring final, Jade Cargill versus Asuka. Last night on SmackDown, we had 2 other female WWE superstars in a big-time match. It was the last woman standing match between Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton.
Oh, wait a minute. Nia Jax wasting little time going after Tiffany Stratton as referee Dan Engler calls for the bell. Last woman standing. No pinfalls, no submissions, no disqualifications, no countouts. Nia's going to climb the ropes here. Looking for a Samoan drop through the table. Tiffany, though, trying to slide down, lands on her feet, looking for a power bomb.
Oh, no!
Power bomb through the table by Stratton. Count of 9. Nia Jax beats the count, so does Stratton. And Miss Money in the Bank heading to the ring. Naomi, maybe looking to cash in Money in the Bank. I guess she'd be a part of the last woman standing match.
Well, cash in didn't quite happen. Tiffany Stratton cut Naomi off of the pass.
But she's going to use the Money in the Bank briefcase as a weapon. She knows very well how to do that. Stratton. Oh, piteous moonsault.
As dangerous a place as you can be for Jax.
And using the briefcase, Jax through both tables. Tiffany Stratton is the last woman standing. Tiffany Stratton is still your WWE Women's Champion.
Oh my goodness, what a match between Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, who retains, and it's somewhat poetic, Tiffany Stratton using that briefcase to get it done.
Yeah, you know, I had a very unique opportunity to watch this match last night because I watched this match with the WWE medical team.
What?
Right? Because I'm good friends of mine.
Okay.
It's very comfortable in there, and they have nice food. Anyway. So,
and the only TV.
And the only TV also, a small detail. But look, they're watching this match between Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, and they're wincing. They're sighing with every table that got broken, with all the extreme physicality. So that just tells you, they've seen it all here in WWE. When they're wincing at a match, you know it's brutally physical.
When you look at Tiffany's reign so far, what defines it for you?
I think a match like that does.
Because when Tiffany first came to WWE, even going back to NXT, obviously people are going to create a stereotype about Tiffany Stratton. Oh, she's just here for her looks. Okay, she's got some cool moves. But the mark of a true WWE superstar who elevates to that next level is that grit, that toughness. And what we saw last night from
Putting
Tiffany
Nia
Stratton,
Jax through tables with a plural, like
Come
S
on.
plural,
That's-
is not easy to do.
That's next level. Tiffany Stratton proved last night she can hang with anyone.
You think she elevated her stock with that victory?
Absolutely. But hey, credit to Nia Jax. Like, those two ladies left it all in the ring. And they put on a matchup that we'll be talking about for quite some time.
Well, listen, you spent a lot of time on Friday Night SmackDown. How's it been with Miss Money in the Bank running around?
I'm fine. I mean, I don't have a champion. I'm a former 24/7 champion, so maybe I would have been concerned back
humble
then.
brag.
But no, listen, Naomi, I envy her, you know? To reference a famous 90s song, she's got the power. She's got all the power in this division, right? If you're a champion, you got to have your head on a swivel looking around because you never know when Miss Money in the Bank is going to cash in on you.
All right, well, it was an awesome match. Congratulations to Tiffany Stratton. Could not have been easy to retain that title last night. All right, we are getting closer and closer to showtime, just over 20 minutes away from Night of Champions here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We have also checked in with a couple of our correspondents tonight. You were a correspondent until you came up here on the panel. But our other correspondent, let's turn it over to her, Natalie Mamo, along with a special guest. He is a Saudi Arabian actor, comedian, and of course, WWE fan, Ibrahim Al-Hajjaj. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Jackie. We're coming to you back live this time from Top of the Ramp inside the Kingdom Arena, and I'm joined by Saudi comedian and actor. You all know him, Ibrahim Al-Hajjaj.
السلام عليكم رياض في أعلى السلام عليكم رياض. And I'm joined by the great WWE Mina presenter, Natalie. Natalie, how do you feel tonight?
I feel amazing. Thank you for joining us. I mean, Night of Champions is coming back. We're minutes away from the 13th premium live event happening here in Saudi Arabia. You were here during SmackDown last night. You saw the entire crowd on their feet during the entire show, chanting with every superstar. And I'm definitely for sure tonight the excitement is going to be through the roof.
I mean, goosebumps are supposed to last for 3 seconds. Yesterday was 3 hours of goosebumps. It was crazy. The energy is crazy. Only great things happen here in Riyadh.
Definitely. This is the country where dreams come true. 2009, we've witnessed the first ever women's match, followed by a title women's match, tag team women's match, also an elimination chamber women's match. And tonight, for the first time ever, a street fight is going to happen between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. What does this all mean to you?
That's a fight I will definitely watch. I mean, tonight is the Nights of Champions. A lot of titles are happening. A lot of titles are changing. Are you guys ready for Nights of Champions?
Well, definitely history is going to be written today, and history is going to be written with an even bigger font in 2026 when Royal Rumble is going to happen here in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia.
I mean, back in 2018, we had the great Royal Rumble, and I'm sure this one is going to be even greater.
Well, I need to ask you here, are we going to see you doing some kind of entrance during the match?
Well, if somebody pisses me off, I gotta get on that ring.
Well, you've heard it from Brahim. So much is going to be going on. So much is going to be going on tonight. And so much is going to be on the line tonight. We're minutes away from Night of Champions, from Riyadh, from the Mamlaka Al-Arabiya Al-Saudiya.
Riyadh!
Natalie, thank you so much. I guess look out for Ibrahim. Don't make him mad, or he will come out here. All right, we're going to step aside for a quick break as fans continue to file in here at Night of Champions. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the official Riyadh season opening ceremony 2024.
Live from Riyadh.
Crown Jewel. Big fight atmosphere here tonight in Jeddah. The ring general, Gunther, the Viper, Randy Orton. Which man will now wear the crown? And Gunther meets him. Right to the knee. Right to the bad knee. Gunther with a drop kick to the bad knee.
Again, Gunther recognized the tiniest of openings and made sure to exploit it.
And did you hear just the air come out of this crowd. As soon as Gunther went to the knee and Randy went down, the air just came out of this place. They realized Randy may be done for.
Hey, I mean, absolutely killed the energy inside of the Jeddah Superdome. That's what Randy wanted, was the energy behind him. This is what Gunther wants. Take the crowd out of it.
Looking for the half crab, which not only hurts the knee, but it's going to hurt the back.
Correct.
Double whammy on Randy Orton here.
And notice how Gunther has Randy's right leg trapped with his own leg. So there we go, a little bit more weaving had to be done by Orton to escape.
Yeah, Randy...
just the little fundamental things Gunther is so good at.
Well, you said it earlier, Corey, the two best professional wrestlers on the planet. There's no doubt about that. And Gunther again, just forcing Randy Orton to suffer through this pain, this madness.
Randy desperately grasping for the bottom rope with... There's a good 3 or 4 feet to cover before the Viper gets there. Able to kick Gunther off for the moment. But
again, creating separation. But how much does Randy have left? How can he stand? He doesn't have a knee, he doesn't have a back.
Gunther about to finish the job.
Now he's
back into the half crab submission. Randy, let's enjoy the rest of Randy's Hall of Fame career.
Referee Dan Engler's right there. Will Randy Orton give up to what has been a display of power and punishment by the ring general?
But Randy, unfortunately, knows what it means and how bad it hurts to be away from this game for a year and a half due to injury. Randy touched the bottom rope.
And now trying to fight out of this situation here.
Randy cannot afford another injury.
RKO again from out of nowhere. Orton with a chance. Randy to the cover. Can he put him away? Hooks the leg. Gunther.
Gunther went to the knee.
Gunther went to the back knee. And now he's got Orton's shoulders down. Got it. Gunther with the win. He's king of the ring.
Your winner, the new King of the Ring General, Gunther!
What an incredible match between Randy Orton and Gunther.
Hail King Gunther!
A special thanks to Ileana for the Night of Champions theme song, Janini. I like it. It's good.
It's got a ring to it.
It does. All right, one of the most recognized King of the Rings is none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And our very own Michael Cole is here to tell us the story of how Austin 316 was born.
It was June of 1996. The wrestling landscape had changed as the WWE was struggling, being dominated by its competitor, WCW. The Monday Night Wars were in full gear. WCW Nitro was beating Monday Night Raw in the ratings handily.
You want to go to war? You got a war.
WWE's product had grown stale and predictable. But something magical happened that summer at the famous Mecca Arena, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was the King of the Ring finals. On one side of the ring stood the legendary Jake the Snake Roberts, who in his recent return had taken to preaching the word to his flock.
My soul was purchased by the blood of the Lamb.
So how can I lose if I just go out there and know the power above is reaching down and lifting me up?
On the other, a rough and tough blue-collar Texan by the name of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Get up, Jake!
Roberts never stood a chance.
Stone Cold Stunner. It's over. This may be only the beginning for that young man.
After a quick victory to become King of the Ring, Stone Cold stepped up to the podium and delivered a promo that would revolutionize an industry and change the trajectory of Austin's life forever.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. I just kind of put that together in my head, and I didn't know what kind of moment that was. Next night we showed up, all of a sudden there's Austin 3:16 signs, and we realized there might be something here.
Next thing you know, there's an Austin 3:16 t-shirt. Immediately, they're selling out everywhere.
Many say this moment is what ushered in the Attitude Era. An era that saw WWE reclaim its greatness and annihilate WCW before eventually purchasing it just 5 years later. Austin 3:16 would go on to become one of, if not the most, iconic catchphrases in wrestling history. It would be quoted by athletes and celebrities around the globe.
Austin 3:16.
They don't compare it to Stone Cold.
I don't want to intimidate you before WrestleMania, but check this out.
It was as if everyone on the planet was wearing that signature black t-shirt. There is nothing quite like hearing that glass break. Nothing more exciting and euphoric than to experience that sensation firsthand. Austin would stun audiences the world over, as well as a cavalcade of superstars in the ring, myself included. It has been one of the great honors of my life to be one of the two men to have been the soundtrack of Steve's illustrious career.
Austin, open it, a cattle whoop ass!
Myself and all of WWE are forever indebted to the man who not only entertained us unimaginably, but saved an entire company as well, with the power of Austin 3:16.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
Oh, what an awesome package that was. Job well done by the folks behind the scenes, and of course, Michael Cole with the narration. Listen, we all know the legacy of Stone Cold Steve Austin, but when it comes to Austin 3:16, Byron, why do you think that took the way that it did?
It was just different. I remember watching as a fan, and up to that point, Stone Cold Steve Austin had been known as the Ringmaster. Wasn't really going anywhere in WWE. Then he cuts his promo, and he's talking differently than any other superstar I'd ever seen. He was more brash than any superstar, and he started a movement. Heck, I started going to high school wearing blue jeans and combat boots. And
I cannot see you in that outfit.
That was a thing.
Pictures or it didn't happen, Byron.
Yeah, well, I'll
hey,
hook you up
Twitter,
later.
put it together.
I'll hook you up later.
Photoshop it.
But instead of chugging beers, I was chugging high seas.
That I believe. That I actually
See?
believe. But you know what? I think, too, you come into these venues, and we're so lucky to do what we do every week and see the WWE Universe. And if you're a superstar that 15, 20 years from now can walk into a venue and still see people in your shirt and still see merchandise flying off the shelf. Like, Stone Cold is still making bank off of merch, off of store merch.
Well, he made bank also 24 years after the inception of Austin 3:16, because if you recall, on 3:16 day, the very first one, 2020, I celebrated with Stone Cold Steve Austin and also got kicked in the discos as a result.
Okay, well, listen, that's enough of that. We're going to turn our attention. Yeah, we're done with this topic. Listen, enough. You said enough. We're going to turn our attention now to the Queen of the Ring final tonight. Asuka has returned. She is looking to get back to where she was when she left. And Jade Cargill with a chance to really prove herself in one-on-one competition, arguably her biggest competition to date in WWE. But of course, both of these women had to earn their way to this final. So here's Wade Barrett with how they did that.
The Queen's crown hangs in the balance. At Night of Champions, a new queen will rule over WWE. Her eyes set on a marquee showdown at the biggest party of the summer.
The stakes could not be higher.
Barrettology is back and here to guide you through the raucous quest to the throne. In the first round, fatal four-way matchups took place throughout Raw and SmackDown, with the winners moving to the semi-finals. It all started as the prodigy, Roxanne Perez, would steal a pinfall to advance. Way to endear yourself, Roxanne. No one was a match for the oncoming storm as Jade Cargill roared her way into the semi-finals. while former 5-time champion Alexa Bliss punched her ticket to the next round in buzzer-beater fashion.
Fire tapped out after the pinfall win.
Claiming the final spot in the semi-finals would be Asuka, as the Empress of Tomorrow stamped her return after a year-long absence with a dominant performance. With the final 4 set, semi-final action would kick off on SmackDown with Alexa Bliss and Asuka.
Highly skilled former champions. Empress Impact.
Over on Raw, the brash Roxanne Perez walked into the semi-finals with home court advantage. Let's just say things did not go the Prodigy's way against Jade Cargill.
The winner of this matchup faces Asuka in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. Roxanne putting up a hell of a fight here tonight. Face first off of Jade, and she's gonna face Asuka at Night of Champions.
I'm walking in to reign.
And with that, we are down to the final 2. The Storm and the Empress. Less than 2 years into her WWE career, the ascendant Jade Cargill now looks to grab her first major accolade as a singles competitor. What awaits Cargill is her most threatening opponent today, Asuka. The Japanese phenomenon is looking to re-solidify her standing as the most feared woman in WWE by adding a Queen of the Ring tournament victory to her already stacked resume. The woman who emerges from the battle victorious will have a one-way ticket to SummerSlam to challenge for the World Championship.
Now they go one-on-one in the Queen of the Ring tournament finals.
The WWE Universe's eyes are fixated on this generational clash. Asuka, Jade Cargill. Who will become the 2025 Queen of the Ring?
All right, we are now 7 minutes away from Night of Champions kicking off here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. You can see fans are in their seats and ready to go. Byron, we have already talked about those 2 women who will compete tonight in the Queen of the Ring final, Jade Cargill versus Asuka. Is there one that you like going into this match? Who's your pick, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I'm going to make a bold statement right now. I say Asuka is the next Queen of the Ring here tonight.
Ooh, oh my gosh, I'm going to go the other way and say Jade Cargill. She has a lot to prove left in her career, and I think tonight she's going to take advantage of that opportunity and prove that she can be as big of a star in the ring as she is outside of it. So I'm going to take Jade Cargill. I think she's going to prove to people that she belongs with the big dogs here in WWE. All right, elsewhere in the King of the Ring final, it is Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. I have no idea what to expect from this match. And when there is a title opportunity at SummerSlam on the line, I think we are going to get, as Sheamus would say, an absolute banger out of these 2 tonight.
Title opportunities bring the best out of the best. Randy Orton wants to avenge last year's loss at King of the Ring. Cody Rhodes wants to avenge his loss at WrestleMania. So, Jackie, you are now in the spotlight. Who's your, yes, don't look at me that way. You need to give me a winner. Is it Cody Rhodes? Is it Randy Orton?
I'm going with Randy Orton.
Ooh,
I think
okay.
I never underestimate Randy, so I'm going to go with the Viper, Randy Orton, to get it done. Although, I mean, honestly, this is anybody's match. Like, that is, I wouldn't be putting money on this match. I'll tell you that right now. It could definitely go either way. All right, we haven't talked about Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
I need to get your thoughts on these 2. I have my own. You can see we're getting close to showtime because Michael Cole has arrived. But what do you make of what's going on with Karrion Kross?
I feel like Karrion Kross has mastered psychological warfare with Sami Zayn. He's clearly gotten under his skin. He's purchased real estate in the mind of Sami Zayn. You saw it last week on Monday Night Raw. This is what Karrion Kross wanted.
Oh,
he
absolutely.
Got this match with Sami Zayn, and he got it on the platform of Night of Champions. I believe Karrion Kross
is your victor tonight?
You know what? I'm with you. I completely agree. I think Karrion Kross comes into this match in complete control. He is the one that orchestrated it. He is the one that made Sami fall into his trap. I mean, that was basically, on Monday night, that was basically a got him moment from Karrion Kross. I said it earlier in the show, but I think it's worth repeating. This man, every week he's cooking, and every week I am eating. Fans of Karrion Kross are well fed, but they stay hungry, and I think Karrion Kross can use this moment, which, by the way, he manifested with the way he has been acting on social media in every interview that he gets with us backstage on the sidelines. This man is forcing the issue. So if he can step in the ring tonight and get a win over the likes of Sami Zayn, I honestly really believe we might start seeing him a lot more on these big-time cards. This is a huge, huge, huge night for Karrion Kross, and I think he's going to get it done, which makes me sad because I love Sami, and so do the people of Saudi Arabia.
No offense, Sami. No offense to you, okay? I just had to make a pick.
Oh, I know, I know. All right, let's get to the next one. We've got a street fight. Look at Wade. He's so amped. I love Wade. We got a street fight tonight between friends turned foes, Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. I mean, this is going to get violent. I talked to Rhea Ripley earlier today. She is an angry woman.
So we were talking earlier about Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton last night on SmackDown, Last Woman Standing. This may top the physicality.
Which says something.
And it's going to be scary for Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez, but these two, because of their history, because of the emotions involved between them, boy, oh boy, I shudder to think what they're going to do to each other.
Who do you got?
Oh, I was hoping you would ask me about this.
Too bad, so sad.
Mommy, she's on top.
You're going with Mommy. Okay, I'm going with Rhea Ripley too because she's had a bit of a tough go lately in terms of winning big time matches. Not always at fault, like her own fault. Like she's had to deal with a lot. But, you know, she wants to be in the title picture. She says as much. She said it in the interview earlier on the show. So if she wants to get back in the title picture, she needs a win tonight, I think a little bit more than Raquel does. But if Raquel gets a win, if I'm her, I'm going straight to Adam Pearce. Straight to Adam Pearce. All right, the United States Championship is on the line. Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa. Who you got?
This is another personal one. Solo, Jacob, I think this is sort of a coming out party for Jacob Fatu. He retains the United States Championship.
Sorry, Solo, not. All right, in the main event, I think Solo's getting what he deserves right now.
I hope he's not watching.
All right, speaking of getting what they deserve, I'm so curious to see what happens in our main event tonight. We're running out of time. Punk, Cena, what do you make of everything that's transpired the last couple of weeks?
Obviously, we've talked about how heated this rivalry has been, one of the greatest rivalries in WWE history, and we're so blessed as fans to be able to see this firsthand. I know you're going to ask me, so I'm going to be proactive here. I'm going to name my pick. Because of his change in attitude, because of his willingness to do whatever it takes.
You mean because of his attitude adjustment?
See what you did there. See what you did there. She's here all night, ladies and gentlemen.
That was almost as cringe as Punk's Thuganomics impersonation. And I say that with love. I loved it.
Yes. Officially, though, my pick is John Cena.
You're going with John Cena, the hypocrite who has gone against everything he stood for 2 decades.
Now, John,
listen, I don't necessarily disagree with you. It would be nice to see CM Punk hold gold for the first time in over a decade. But we got to go. It's time for Night of Champions live from here in Saudi Arabia. It's go time.
Let's go.
This is the bustling metropolis of Riyadh, crown jewel of the desert, the capital city of the Kingdom of...
Get out your cameras. You're going to want to remember this moment.
Today, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
The greatest of all time against the best in the world.
One last time. John Cena, CM Punk, for the undisputed WWE Championship.
It's time CM Punk woke up as champion.
WWE Night of Champions.
Get out your camera.